Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm Reed, and this is Man Cave Guitar Pedal Mania. Before I really get rolling on this video, I want to give a shout out to the nearly 600 people that subscribed to my channel in the last month. I won't be doing any more guitar projects for a while, so I hope that you like the rest of my content. Prior to doing the Stumac Wilkinson guitar kit, my most popular video was a review of a Squier Jazzmaster. I never really understood why that video was so popular. The Squier Jazzmaster has been on the market for a very long time. There are a lot of other videos out there on it, but people seem to like mine, and I appreciate that. So I wanted to do another video where I compare the Squier Jazzmaster to an even more affordable, or some would say cheap, Jazzmaster. Now you can find super cheap Tellys and Strats all over the place these days, but there aren't a lot of companies that I've found putting out cheap Jazzmasters. So I went to one of my go-to companies for inexpensive guitar parts. Guitarfetish.com. Their house brand is called Xavier. I've been using Guitarfetish pickups for quite a while, and I really like their pickups. Naturally, their house brand comes with their pickups installed, and this guitar was about the same price as a pedal from Wampler or JHS or Walrus Audio. I think it's very strange that we live in a world where you can buy a complete guitar for the price of a guitar pedal. There's something wrong with the economics of that. But for now, I'll just enjoy the guitar. So, $200 for this guitar. The Squier was $400. The question becomes, how do they stack up against each other? Well, I'm going to go over them one at a time, give you some sound samples, and compare the features across each of them. So, let's start with my original Jazzmaster, the Squier. This was the first Jazzmaster I bought. Because I build guitars as a hobby, I had intended to build a Jazzmaster, but I didn't know much about them, so I thought I'll buy an inexpensive Jazzmaster so I can check out the wiring and the trim system and everything else and see how it works. So I ordered this Squier Classic Vibe 60s from Sweetwater, $400 brand new. You can buy them cheaper if you look around. I was blown away by the quality of this guitar. Now, because I was intending to see how it worked, when I ordered it, I also bought some upgrades. I got a different trim system. I got a little bar to put pressure on the strings back here. I bought different pickups, and I bought a different string tree. Well, everything with the trim system was completely unnecessary. The stock trim is just fantastic. I didn't have any issues with it. The string tree I've replaced with a Graphtec string tree, and I left it on because why not? I did replace the aftermarket bridge by putting the original bridge back on, so I've got an apples to apples comparison with that Xavier Jazzmaster. So the biggest difference is I have a set of Guitarfetish Vintage Jazzmaster pickups in this. Exactly the same pickups that are in that Xavier. So we'll see if they sound any different. I expect they will because of the biggest difference between this guitar and the Xavier, and that is the Jazzmaster tone circuit. So let's start at the headstock and work our way down the guitar. We'll go over feature by feature, what I think of it versus what I think of the Xavier. Let's start with the tuning machines. This guitar has the split post Kluson style tuners, and they hold tune like an anchor. This is the first guitar I've had that used this style of tuner, and I love it. I'm not sure that the modern tuners are in any way an upgrade on this, except for locking tuners. Again, I installed this Graphtec string tree. Don't really know what difference that makes. The nut was cut very well. It's not too high, it doesn't bind up. The neck itself is very nicely lacquered. Probably polyurethane, I'm sorry, lacquer and polyurethane are not the same thing. It's got a skunk stripe on the back that is purely for aesthetics because it's got the truss rod adjustment at the head. The fret ends are marvelous. There are no sharp fret ends at all. This is an extremely comfortable and very playable neck. Doesn't fret out. So easy to play all the way up. The finish, now this is just white, but it is flawless. And I'm going to try and minimize glare here. I'm experimenting with improving the lighting in my videos, so we're going to see how that goes. I love the tortoiseshell pickguard with the white. Three-way pickup switch, volume, tone, Jazzmaster tone circuit. When you engage the Jazzmaster tone circuit, it goes to the neck pickup only, and then these controls no longer do anything. You control them with these pots at the top of the guitar. And it does have a different sound. We'll go through that in a minute. It has a rocking bridge. It's just on little posts that fit into cups in the body, so it floats freely back and forth when you use the tremolo system. Now, the tremolo system I think is very expressive. I'm not a huge trem aficionado, so I don't know how it compares to, say, a Floyd Rose. I just don't own any of those. But I like the Jazzmaster trem system. You can get a lot of travel with it. Let's see how that stayed in tune. Ooh, just a tiny bit out. Okay, so with deep dives, it does go out a little bit. These are brand new strings, I should mention. But if you just want to give it some surf guitar warbles, stays in tune just fine. Now again, the Jazzmaster pickups are single coils. They are shallow and wide compared to a Stratocaster or Telecaster style pickup. So this is on a clean setting with a little compression added. It's on the bridge, as you can hear, not particularly noisy. Middle is hum canceling. Neck, not particularly noisy. Give a little light overdrive. Again, not very noisy. Hum canceling, not too bad. Go to a little more aggressive overdrive. And you can hear a little bit more hum, as you would expect. Hum canceling in the middle, a little bit of hum at the neck. So I like these Guitarfetish pickups. I also will say the Jazzmaster is the only guitar I own where I like the neck better than the bridge. So this is just the regular neck sound. Then if we engage the Jazzmaster tone circuit, as you can hear, it's a little bit darker. Turn off a little more presence in the regular tone circuit. So that is something that a lot of people don't use. I probably won't use it a lot, but I do like that it's there. So I think that everything about this guitar is first rate, except for the pickups. The Seymour Duncan Designed pickups that came with it I thought were very shrill and unpleasant. And I like these Guitarfetish classic or vintage Jazzmaster pickups much better. My only other tiny little complaint about this guitar is that the trim system, there's just a little bit of play in the arm before it actually changes the note. It reminds me of an old car where the steering's gone out a little bit and there's just a little bit of play in the steering. So again, this is clean with a little compression. Bridge, middle. overdrive. I'm getting all of my overdrive from a Sansamp PSA2. That's the neck, middle, bridge. And with a little more aggressive overdrive, on the aggressive overdrive I only play on the bridge. So, great guitar for $400. Still blown away by the quality of this thing. It looks fantastic, it feels great, it sounds great. I love this guitar. So, how does the Xavier Jazzmaster, which is half the price, match up? Well, let's grab it and see. So here's the Xavier Jazzmaster. Let's start with looking at the overall product. I'm sure somebody in the comments will argue with this, but looks matter. And this is a good looking guitar if you like Jazzmasters. It's got the seafoam green paint job. The headstock is very reminiscent of a Stratocaster without actually being a Strat headstock. It's a little bit smaller. It does have a much more tinted neck, no skunk stripe on it. The neck is thicker than the Squier is, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start at the headstock end. So first, the tuners. Gone are the split post Kluson style, now they're just modern style sealed tuners. And they are okay. But then we get to this giant bar string retainer, which I think is the cause of most of my issues with tuning on this guitar. It stays in tune okay once you get it in tune, but it really, you can turn that tuning peg a long way before it makes any difference in the tune, and then it's really hard to get it to go back down after you raise the pitch. And I think that's because of this retaining bar. I have no idea why they would use the bar instead of just a regular string tree on this. I mean, can it really be cheaper to use a big bar like that? I don't know. I will most likely at some point pull this off and just put a regular string tree on it, and I think that'll make it a lot easier to tune up. But once it's in tune, it stays in tune okay. The nut is fit well. It's a lot chunkier than the nut on the Squier. It's not cut nearly as well. The Squier came right out of the box set up flawlessly. The action on this is quite high. I have not actually measured it to tell you scientifically what the difference is between it and the Squier, but I can tell you, just looking at it at the 12th fret, there is a lot more travel in the strings on this than there is on the Squier, and it is much higher on the 1st fret, so this guitar takes a lot more effort to play. The fret ends are sharp. They're not unpleasantly sharp that it would dissuade you from playing it, but they could definitely use some love. Now I should mention, even an inexpensive guitar, if you know what you're doing and you're willing to put in the time and effort, you can make it play like a great guitar. So that's not the issue. The issue is, if you're the type of person who buys a $200 guitar, do you want to spend hours and hours tuning it up? Well, I don't. I just want to get a guitar out of the box and play it. And again, this is playable, but not nearly as pleasant. And it gets a lot more vibration in the B and G strings. There's a rattling noise in the bridge. You get a little of that on the Squier, but not much. Again, the pickups are identical. It's the same pickups. But presumably the tone pots and, tone pot and volume pot are different. There is no Jazzmaster circuit. The bridge, the whammy bar They look identical. The hardware looks identical back here. So they may be made by the same factory in China. They're not branded, so I have no way to know. So it is pretty quiet. Again, this is live, bridge, middle, neck. Little more hum on the neck. This is a low gain setting with a little compression. I feel like this guitar has lower output than the Squier does, which again, same pickups, so I'm not really sure why that would be the case, unless it's the pots. Light overdrive on the bridge. Middle. And neck. There's a lot more variation on the Squier between the middle and neck settings. On this, they sound very similar. And then some moderate or mid-level gain, as I think of it. Okay, quite a bit more hum. Hum canceling in the middle. The trim system feels identical to the one on the Squier, right up to having a little play in the arm before it really makes a difference. Let's give it a dive bomb and see how it stays in tune. The answer is it detuned everything. Maybe you can see how difficult it is to make small adjustments in the tuning. So what's the bottom line on this for me? The Squier Classic Vibe 60s is $400 brand new. This Xavier Jazzmaster is $210 brand new. I didn't check the website this morning. So basically half the price. Is the Squier twice the guitar? Yes, it absolutely is. Now, with the caveat that I put different pickups in that Squier. But besides that, the tuners are better, the neck is better, and it just sounds better even with the exact same pickups. So I presume that is the electronics in this. Of course, you could always, for about $5 each, buy a good volume pot and tone pot and wire them up and maybe get a better sound out of the guitar. But I think most people just want to buy a guitar and have it work. And this guitar is functional. It plays just fine. It sounds okay. But I would still go with the Squier Jazzmaster. GFS or Guitarfetish sells these GFS pickups for $33 a piece. So another way to look at this is that you're buying the pickups for $66, and then for an extra $140 they're throwing in the rest of the guitar. I don't understand the economics on that. I think that if you just worked out all of the parts, you know, a body, the trim system, bridge, tuners, you can't parts out this guitar for the $200 they sell it for. And that doesn't include upcharges like painting. Having something painted is not free. And I'll give them this, the paint job on this guitar is really good. So, yeah, for the money, I mean, it feels like a $200 guitar. But it's still a good guitar for $200. It's just that for $400, the Squier is an excellent guitar and one that I don't think that you would outgrow. So, I hope you found this interesting. I've been wanting to do this comparison for a while. I'll have more videos up. I don't work on a set schedule, but I'll do approximately one a week. I hope that I'll see you on the next video. Until then, I've been Reed, and this has been Man Cave Guitar Pedal Mania.